Even the looks of the A-10 are nothing short of iconic. Just look at it. It's hard to believe that in 2022, this fearsome winged predator is celebrating its 50th anniversary and has no plans to retire anytime soon, even though there were numerous attempts to replace it. Actually, the first of those were made almost immediately after the first A-10 Thunderbolt II rolled off the factory floor. In fact, even its road to production was rather long and challenging. After the Vietnam War, the US military realized that they didn't actually have a single, full-fledged ground attack aircraft at their disposal. What they had was the Douglas A-1 Skyraider, a carrier-based, piston-engined attack aircraft. It was cheap, sturdy, and capable of delivering precision strikes on small mobile targets, but it was also too slow, especially for jungle warfare. Phantoms, on the other hand, were way too fast, crossing the battlefield in a matter of seconds. With their distinct lack of loiter time, there was no way they could achieve the same level of precision. There were some attempts to convert trainer jets into some kind of light attack aircraft, but that didn't really solve the problem at hand, just like the adoption of heavier Crusaders and Thunder Chiefs. The main weakness of all those aircraft was that they were simply too vulnerable to ground fire. And helicopters? Well, let's put it this way. Even though they got full points for precision, they were even slower than the venerable Skyraider. It was crystal clear that the military had to find another way forward, but no one was sure what it actually was. That's why the request for proposals for the new aircraft, issued by the USAAF, was so vague and full of self-contradictory requirements. So vague and full of them, in fact, that most companies decided not to take part in this competition at all. In the end, there were only two major players that decided to submit their proposals: Northrop and Fairchild Republic. The former came up with a pretty conservative subsonic design, but the latter's submission was very unorthodox, and in more ways than one. Even its looks didn't fit the aesthetics of contemporary military designs. Hell, the attacker had a straight wing with a wide chord, as if mocking the elegant swept wings of supersonic jets. It had twin tails like some World War II-era aircraft. It had two bulbous jet engines protruding from the fuselage, and it had next to no nose. What engineers gave it instead was the snout of the GAU-8 30mm cannon. Fun fact, the whole fuselage of the aircraft was actually built around it. The military got exactly what they asked for: an aircraft armed with a gun that could easily pierce the steel hides of Soviet T-55 and T-62 tanks. But US generals certainly weren't too happy with the aircraft's appearance. Nevertheless, it was the A-10 that won the fly-off against the competing design and was selected for production. It turned out to be a very reliable aircraft, capable of carrying all kinds of missiles and bombs. It had no trouble operating from primitive forward airfields near front lines, it was cheap and easy to maintain, and it also had superior maneuverability at low speeds and altitudes. Furthermore, as became evident from later use, the A-10 had phenomenal survivability. You could hit it with a surface-to-air missile, and it'd still have a chance to make it back to base, and high-caliber machine guns were no threat to the A-10 at all. While pilots were getting the hang of their new aircraft and discovering its strengths, the USAF decision-makers kept doubting its potential and looking for a more aesthetically pleasing replacement. After all, the rapid development of Soviet tactical air defense capabilities permitted the use of the GAU-8 cannon at a range where there was actual visual contact with enemy tanks, and the new generation of Soviet armor, like the T-72, was harder to eliminate in general. It seemed like the USAF decision-makers finally had a reason to retire the Thunderbolt II. But then they remembered that a single Warthog can carry enough Maverick missiles to destroy a whole unit of tanks. And then it has bombs and rockets. And it can even deal with enemy aircraft if they make the mistake of trying to win a dogfight against the blasted thing. In other words, this ugly aircraft could carry enough weapons to single-handedly ruin the day of a whole regiment of Soviet tanks. Now imagine a few of those ugly ducklings working together. That's right. So it's no wonder that the USAF couldn't bear to replace the Warthog. Not to mention that the A-10 performed extremely well during the Gulf War, earning the respect of pilots and aviation enthusiasts alike. Naturally, as time went on, new threats and challenges emerged, but the aircraft somehow always turned out to be the best possible platform for new equipment, and thus remained effective despite facing a new generation of opponents. Soon the analog age came to an end, giving way to the digital, highly automated ways of the 21st century, and it turned out that strike aircraft didn't really need to have pilots anymore. These days, more often than not, it's different versions of unmanned aerial vehicles that carry anti-tank weapons. Drones know no fear, they don't doubt themselves, and don't get tired. How can a human pilot, even a highly skilled one, compete with that? But even now, there are new opportunities for the A-10. Someone has to coordinate drone strikes, and one of the ways you can do it is with a specialized aircraft. It's not always possible to control drones from the ground, and remote control via satellites is expensive, not entirely reliable, and prone to countermeasures. Obviously, receiving a signal from an aircraft isn't fail-proof either, but at least it can literally follow the drones around. And you know what? As luck would have it, the USAF had a great candidate for the job. The A-10 Thunderbolt II, also known as the Warthog, isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Yeah, there will be new upgraded versions, maybe even a new aircraft based on its design, but the idea of the A-10 is clearly here to stay, because it's a powerful, fearsome, highly adaptable winged beast that is capable of meeting the challenges of time, whatever they may be.